The card that changed everything. I used to believe my life was ordinary. Arnold and I had been married for 51 years. We had 2 grown children, a quiet house, and a routine that felt as predictable as the ticking of the clock in our hallway. Every month, Arnold would sit at the kitchen table with his checkbook and say the same thing. I need to send money to my sister. Her treatments are expensive. He always looked so worried when he said it. I felt guilty even questioning him. His sister, poor Celia, battling a terrible illness. I'd never met her, but I prayed for her every night. Then, on his 73rd birthday, everything shattered. We were cleaning up after a small family dinner. The kids had gone home, and I was collecting wrapping paper from the living room when I noticed a card tucked halfway under a cushion, a pink envelope with glittery hearts. Arnold hated glitter. I opened it without thinking. And then the world fell silent. Happy birthday, Daddy. We love you so much. Signed by Samantha, 16, and Leo, 9. A picture of 2 smiling children holding balloons was taped inside. Behind them stood a woman, tall, elegant, younger than me, with her hand wrapped around Arnold's arm. My throat closed. My knees gave out, and I fell onto the sofa. I read it again. And again. And again. My vision blurred, but not from age, from betrayal. When Arnold walked into the room, I held the card in the air like a weapon. Who are they? My voice was shaking. Who are these children calling you Daddy? He froze. The color left his face. He didn't even bother to lie. Teresa, please sit down. No. You talk. Now. He rubbed his hands over his face, the same hands that held mine through every hardship, and said the words that cracked my heart like glass. They're my children, with Celia. I slapped him so hard my hand stung. Your sister? I screamed. He looked at me with this pathetic shame. She's not my sister. I said that because I didn't know how to tell you. 5 decades of marriage, and he had another family. And I had been praying for his sick sister. I grabbed my purse and walked out. I didn't know where I was going, but anywhere was better than that house of lies. I drove for hours, aimless. My wedding ring felt like a shackle on my finger. Memories attacked me like knives, our first apartment, the night he held my hand in the hospital when our son was born, the anniversaries he skipped visiting his sister. All of it, a theater of deception. When I finally returned home near dawn, Arnold was gone. His closet? Empty. His toothbrush? Gone. A note on the kitchen table read, I'm staying with them. I'm sorry. That was it. 51 years reduced to 4 insulting words. I wanted to crumble. I wanted to disappear. But then I looked at the calendar, it was the 1st of the month. The day he always sent money to his sister. I laughed, a broken, bitter laugh, and said aloud. Well, if she's not dying. I want to meet her. Not out of kindness. Out of rage. Out of a desperate need for answers, for justice. So I found the address on his old bank slips, a small house on the other side of town. My heart pounded like a drum as I marched to the door. When it swung open, I came face to face with her. Celia. Beautiful. Younger. Her hair curled perfectly. Her eyes widened when she saw me, she knew exactly who I was. And behind her stood those children, my husband's children, staring up at me with innocent confusion. I tried to speak, but my voice broke. How could you? I whispered. But then Celia, the woman I expected to hate more than anyone, whispered back, trembling. I didn't know he was married. He told me you passed away years ago. Her voice cracked, and tears spilled from her eyes. My breath caught. He had betrayed us both. He hadn't just built a second life. He built a world of lies. I stood there shaking, staring into the eyes of the woman who unknowingly shared my husband for nearly 2 decades. But instead of rage, all I saw was fear. Confusion. A pain that mirrored my own. I thought he loved me, Celia murmured, clutching the doorframe to steady herself. He said you were gone. He even showed me a gravestone with your name. A gravestone? My heart twisted in disbelief. This wasn't just cheating. This was a man who wrote lies into stone. Before I could respond, the younger child, Leo, tugged on Celia's sleeve. Mommy? Who is she? His innocent eyes were dagger-sharp. I felt like an intruder in the life Arnold built behind my back. Celia swallowed her tears, looked at me, and whispered. Would you like to come in? I should have stormed away. I should have screamed at her. But instead, I nodded. Maybe I needed to see his lies up close. Maybe I needed to understand how far he'd fallen. Photos lined the walls, Arnold smiling at barbecues, Arnold holding newborns, Arnold wrapped in Christmas lights like some goofy sitcom dad. He never smiled like that with me. I touched one of the frames, my fingers trembling. That was my husband. But also, not my husband. Celia handed me a glass of water. Her hand shook as badly as mine. I swear, Teresa. I never would have. I cut her off quietly. I believe you. The words felt heavy, but real. He was always working late, I said. Always rushing off to help his sister. Every birthday, every holiday, he had some excuse. Celia's eyes widened. It was the same for us. He always said he was on a business trip. He missed Samantha's last 3 birthdays. She cried for days. We stared at each other, 2 women stitched together by one man's lies. How long? I asked. 17 years, she whispered. Since Samantha was born. 17 years. He'd been betraying me since before our youngest grandchild existed. I felt sick. Samantha appears. A door slammed upstairs and footsteps pounded down the steps. A teenage girl emerged, her eyes fiery, jaw clenched. I heard everything, she spat at her mother. Dad's married? He lied about everything? About her being dead? Her voice echoed with betrayal and disbelief. He left us too, I said softly. I found a card from you both, and the same night, he packed his things and left me. Her angry face faltered. For a moment, we understood each other perfectly. We were supposed to be his family, she whispered. We all were, I replied. The door suddenly burst open behind me. Arnold stormed inside, face red, voice trembling with panic. Teresa! You shouldn't be here. I turned slowly. For the first time in 51 years, he looked like a stranger. No, I said with ice in my tone. I should have been here a long time ago. He reached for me. Let's talk. I stepped back. He tried Celia next, desperation rising. Baby, please, I can explain. Explain what? She yelled, tears streaming down her face. Your dead wife is standing right here. The children cowered behind her. The home he built was collapsing around him. His voice broke into pleading fragments. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't know how to choose. You did choose, I snapped. You chose lies. Celia's voice turned cold. You chose to lead both families without a father. Samantha threw a framed picture at his feet. Glass shattered. That's all you're good at, she screamed. Breaking things. Arnold sank into a chair, defeated. Suddenly he looked old. Small. Weak. And I? For the first time in years, I felt powerful. The hardest goodbye. I'll file for divorce, I told him calmly. You'll support your children. All of them. He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. But as I turned to leave, Celia grabbed my hand. What will you do now? I had no answer. My whole life had been tied to that man. I was 76, with empty days ahead and a heart torn in two. But then, a spark. I'll rebuild, I said, surprising myself. Somehow. I'll rebuild. And I walked out, my spine straight, chin high. For the first time in half a century, I wasn't just Arnold's wife. I was Teresa. And she was coming back to life. When I left that house, tears blurred the road home. Every breath hurt, like my ribs were splintering inside me. I walked into an empty home. Our photos stared back at me, the fake happily ever after. I tore his face out of every frame. I screamed into pillows. I lay awake for nights, angry at myself for loving a monster. I was 76. Who starts over at 76? But the real question was, who gives up after surviving this much? Not me. Not anymore. The dress that started it all. A week passed. Then a month. Bills piled up. Divorce papers crawled forward. My hands needed something to do, something that reminded me I existed beyond heartbreak. I pulled out my old sewing machine. It had been decades since I ran my own little boutique, before the kids, before life got complicated. Designing clothes once made me feel alive. I stared at the machine, terrified. Could I still do this? I took an old floral curtain, cut it, pinned it, stitched it, wild, imperfect, but freeing. Hours later, something beautiful lay across my table. A summer dress. The phone rang unexpectedly. Teresa? It's Celia. I froze. We hadn't spoken since the confrontation. I found Arnold's retirement accounts, she said quietly. He hid money. A lot of it. I think we should fight together. The idea stunned me. We were never meant to be allies. But betrayal had twisted our lives together. And maybe, together was how we'd survive. The next day, we met at a small cafe. We sat awkwardly, two women who loved the same liar. I'm sorry, Celia whispered, tears in her eyes. For everything. Even the stuff I didn't know about. I covered her hand gently. He lied to both of us. But he doesn't get to keep winning. Her lips trembled. Then she nodded firmly. What do we do? She asked. I took a deep breath, a daring one. We start a business. Together. She blinked. A business? I showed her the dress. And for the first time since my world collapsed, someone smiled at my work. Teresa, she gasped, this is gorgeous. Her excitement rekindled something inside me. Imagine us, I continued, voice steadying with hope. Two women rebuilding from nothing, creating clothes for people starting over too. Her eyes lit up. In that moment, we weren't victims. We were visionaries. Celia had experience in marketing. I had design. We were a perfect match, in all ways Arnold never deserved. Stitch by stitch, we rose. We started tiny, selling online, local fairs, community events. Our brand motto. Born from broken, built to shine. Women cried at our booth as they shared their own heartbreaks. Divorce. Abuse. Abandonment. Loss. Our clothes became armor. Every sale funded our freedom. Within a year, we rented a small storefront. A sign hung above the door. Tercel Boutique. Two names forged together like new family. Everyone in town knew our story, not as gossip, but as inspiration. Celia's kids would come after school and help fold fabrics. I became Grandma Teresa. Not by blood, but by healing. Samantha once said to me, "He broke us. But you put us back together." Tears spilled down my cheeks as she hugged me, tight, like she never wanted to let go. I found love again, unexpected love. Motherly love. Sisterhood love. Not everything broken stays broken. Some things rebuild stronger. The day Arnold returned. 2 years later. Business booming. Families mended. Hearts healing. Then Arnold walked into the boutique, wrinkled, weak, alone. He stared at the store sign, stunned. You really did this," he said, voice trembling. I smiled. Not cruelly, just honestly. "Yes. We did this." He looked regretful, desperate even. "Can I come home?" he whispered. I stepped closer, and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You already are home," I said gently. "This was never a place for you." He lowered his head and walked out slowly. His lies crumbling behind him like dust. Our victory was never about him. The local newspaper interviewed us. Our boutique became a symbol of resilience. Women lined up for our rebirth collection, clothing inspired by stories like ours. We built an empire, not from money. From pain. From courage. From unity. Who would have thought? A shattered wife and a deceived mistress. Becoming sisters by choice. Our boutique wasn't just a store anymore. It became a sanctuary. Women walked in carrying heartbreak. And walked out wearing hope. They'd touch the clothes gently, feeling the careful stitching, the soft fabrics, the meaning woven into every seam. We told them, "You deserve to feel strong again." And they did. A family not defined by blood. Celia and I moved into a cozy house together. A home bursting with laughter and warmth. She became my closest friend. My business partner. My chosen sister. Samantha stopped calling me Mrs. Teresa. She called me Grandma. I helped her with school projects. She helped me set up social media for the store. We laughed about my inability to understand hashtags. She taught me TikTok dances that nearly dislocated my hips. And little Leo? He would sit at my sewing table, legs swinging, watching every stitch like it was magic. "Grandma T, when I grow up, I'll work here with you," he'd say proudly. I never had grandchildren this young. But I had them now. And they healed me in ways I never expected. Our boutique held free classes, teaching women skills, giving them jobs, giving them belonging. We learned every story. A woman escaping a violent marriage. A mom rebuilding after being abandoned. A widow learning to live again. A young girl who'd lost her confidence. Their pain became our purpose. We weren't just making clothes. We were stitching shattered pieces into beauty. On the walls, we framed notes from customers. "Your boutique changed my life. I feel beautiful again. Thank you for helping me survive." Every note was a reminder. We won. The news that broke and mended our hearts. One winter morning, a call came. Arnold had collapsed. Heart failure. He was alone in a care facility, no friends, no visits. Celia looked at me, uncertainty in her eyes. "These are the consequences he earned," she said. And she was right. But I asked myself, who do I want to be? The woman he betrayed? Or the woman I rebuilt? We visited him together. He looked up, frail, apologetic. "Teresa. Celia. I ruined everything." I nodded. "Yes. You did." He began to cry, shoulders shaking like a broken man. I loved you both, he sobbed. But I didn't love myself enough to choose honesty. I placed my hand over his. Arnold, you took away our trust. But you gave us each other. He looked into our eyes, seeing what real strength looked like. We forgive you, I said. Not for your sake. For ours. His tears slowed. His breathing calmed. And for the first time in years, we all had peace. The legacy of rising again. Arnold passed quietly weeks later. We attended the funeral, the four of us, holding hands. No rage. No hatred. Just closure. A new chapter had already begun. The boutique expanded, 3 new locations across the state. We employed 32 women. We changed lives. We rewrote our story. And on my 80th birthday, in the midst of confetti and music, Samantha handed me a small package. Inside was a necklace, a tiny sewing machine pendant, engraved with, "You stitched our family together." I hugged her so tight she laughed and squeaked. "Grandma T doesn't miss a stitch," Leo shouted proudly. No one knew better than I did. I once thought my life was ending at 76. Broken, betrayed, abandoned. Final words from Teresa. To anyone listening this. If you've been betrayed. If someone broke your heart in places you didn't know existed. Listen to me. You are not done. You are not worthless. You are not defined by someone else's lies. You can rise. Even when no one expects you to. Because sometimes, the worst heartbreak leads you to the best version of yourself. I am Teresa. A grandmother, a creator, a survivor. I lost everything I thought I needed. And gained everything I truly deserved.